Learning and Teaching for B.Ed first year. This is exclusively for Pondicherry University students, explained by Dr. Shubha, Vasavi College of Education, Puducherry. So we are doing UNIT-1, Part-2, under Development of Learner and Learning, Phases of Learning, Influence of Peer Group, Group Cohesion, and Group Dynamics on Learning. This is what we are going to see. Phases of Learning. Teaching is a complex task. We need systematic planning to perform this work. Teaching has to be done in steps. The different steps constituting the process are called phases of teaching. So a teacher, before going to class, needs to prepare. So each phase has some operations of teaching which create the situation for learning. So the process teaching can be divided into three phases or stages: pre-active, that is planning; interactive, the conduct and the management; and post-active, the follow-up and consolidation. So different phases involve different operations of teaching. So what is the preparatory phase? Motive is a dynamic force which energizes and compels an individual to strive for satisfaction in achieving our needs. If we don't feel our present behavior, the knowledge, skill or performance adequate enough to satisfy our needs, we fail to bring about changes in our behavior to gain knowledge and skills that we need. That is, if you are not satisfied with our present condition, we may think about learning something to change our behavior. So this motive, we need to have a motivation. This drive, this quest initiates a learner to learn what is needed to fulfill their demands or needs. If the need is strong enough, we are compelled to strive for satisfaction. So when we talk about the motive, we need to have a goal. That is, we need to set a definite goal for achieving our needs. Learning becomes purposeful only when we set goals and aims. The ways and attempts that we make to achieve our goals makes the process interesting and orient our potentials towards achieving our goals. Hence, a goal is necessary in the process of learning. So the first one is preparatory. The next one is actual learning phase. So actual learning phase is learning situation and creating a congenial learning environment. So the learning situations or environment provides learning opportunities to us in the learning process. So the situation provides quality, speed and effectiveness for a learner to learn. A good and favorable learning situation provides satisfactory results in achieving the goals of learning, while a poor and unfavorable situation fails to reach the goal. So what do you mean by poor and unfavorable situation? If the classroom is not okay, if the desks are not proper, if there is no place to sit down for the students, and if the students are more, then it is a very poor and unfavorable environment. So this will not allow the student also, the teacher also, to reach the goal. Okay. Then interaction while learning. So this is a never-ending process. According to the prevailing environment, constant interaction could strive us to learn something we intend to learn. Interaction is a process which enables us to respond to stimuli and get feedback so that we could progress in the path of learning. So interaction is what? The teacher and learner. That learner should ask something, the teacher should answer. So there should be a stimuli and response. Okay. So a feedback should be there. Whatever the teacher asks, the learner should answer. This step in a learning process, it allows us to know and decide whether we get desirable changes or modification in our behavior, and whether we could retain it or not, as learning is a continuous and a developmental process. What is learning? Learning is modification of behavior. So there should be a change in the behavior. Then only we call a learning has taken place. So this is the definition for learning. So when we talk about the phases of learning, the unconscious incompetence, I don't know that, I don't know something. Unconscious incompetence, I know that I don't know something. Unconscious competence, I know something but I have to think about it as I do it. So unconscious competence is I know something so well, I don't have to think about it. So these are the steps and phases of learning when we talk about the learner's perception. The four-phase learning cycle talks about preparation, creative presentation, that is active learning is creative presentation phase, then practice phase, then performance phase. Performance phase is nothing but the evaluation phase. So this is the recent development in phases of learning or stages of learning. Gagne says he talks about 8 stages of learning process. The first one is motivation phase, that is preparatory. Motivation, the action related is expectancy, then apprehension, perceiving, then acquisition, encoding and storing the information, then retention, memory retention, recalling, then generalization, then performance, then feedback. So from motivation phase, apprehension phase, acquisition, retention, recall, generalization, then performance and feedback. So the first two comes under preparatory, motivation and apprehension. So it comes under preparatory. Then the next, from up to generalization, it goes to active learning. Then performance and feedback comes under evaluative. Now let's go to the next topic, influence of peer group. So what's a peer group? This is both a social group and a primary group of people who have similar interest, age, background and social status. So in a classroom, if your child is in class 6, then all the students who are in the 6th standard, they are their peers. Now we have social media, Facebook, WhatsApp. So whoever is in your group with the same interest, they form a peer group despite their age, despite their background. So similar interest, same age, similar background and similar social status can form as a peer group. The members of this group are likely to influence the person's belief and behavior. So they will look at the other person and exactly in the same manner they will act and react. Peer groups contain hierarchies and distinct patterns of behavior. 18-year-olds are not in the peer group with 14-year-olds, even though they may be in school together. Just as teachers do not share students as a peer group. So students are students. A student and teacher can never be a friend and they can never be a peer also. As the adolescent develops, they start to experiment on both constructive and negative identity behaviors. During this stage, the peer group pressure, they play a critical role in changing the behavior of adolescents both negatively as well as positively. So, peer pressure is used to describe the demands for compliance to customs of the group and exhibiting dedication and loyalty to the members of the group. So, the other students are pressurizing, then they will definitely show loyalty to the group and they will act accordingly. At the same time, young people outside the peer group have norms that strengthen connection to particular peer groups and forbid their association with others. The term peer pressure is used to describe the negative influence, suggesting that young people act in ways that go against their attitudes or morals due to fear of denunciation by the peer group. That is, just because they don't want to come out of the group, that is, they fear that the other person will not take them into their group if they don't obey their orders. Okay, so fear of that, they act in whatever way the other person influence them. In most adolescents, belonging and complying with a peer group is as a way to gain personal security. By abiding to the peer group pressure, adolescents have a chance to state unambiguously that they can be regarded as people who have a sense of belonging. So they want to show that I belong to this group. So this is a powerful group in the school. So the belongingness they want to show, that's why they go for negative influence. So the peer group functions. So what are peers? Individuals about the same age or maturity level. So they provide source of information and comparison about the world outside the family. Peer influences and evaluations can be negative or positive. Early childhood, frequency of peer interaction increases, and middle or late childhood, they spend increasing time in peer interaction. The average time spent is 10% at the age of 2, 20% at the age of 4, 40% from 7 to. Now let's see about group cohesion. Now what is this cohesion? This can be defined as a bond that pulls people towards membership in a particular group and resist separation from that group. In addition, group cohesion generally has 3 characteristics. They are interpersonal attraction. This means group members have a preference or want to interact with each other. Now group members enjoy this interaction and seek it out. So the first one is they want to be in that group. They want to interact. The second one is group pride. So this involves group members viewing their membership to a specific group with fondness. They feel proud of their group membership and staying in that group feels valuable. Commitment to the work of the group. So group members value the work of the group and believe in its goals. They are willing to work together to complete the work which are aligned with these group goals, even though in adversity. So these 3 are for groups. The same thing in detail. According to Stephen Robbins, group cohesiveness is the degree to which members are attracted to each other and are motivated to stay in that group. So cohesion means what? The fondness, the attraction, okay, grows out of communication and common interest, builds group identity, then creates climate of inclusion for all the members. So whoever has similar mentality, they form a group. So they build group identity. That is, this group is talking about Ilayaraja's music likewise. So this group is talking about Shah Rukh Khan's expertise likewise. So the group will have an identity. Then it will create a climate of inclusion for all. So team cohesion or group cohesion is there in the middle. So task cohesion and social cohesion. So what is task cohesion? Commitment to the team's goal and task, that is the work. Social attraction to the group and interpersonal attraction, that is interacting with each and every one of the group. Then interdependence. So group cohesion and interdependence will give team performance, that is group performance will be very successful and more. So first we saw the group cohesiveness, that is the attraction. Now group dynamics on learning. So group dynamics deals with the attitudes and behavioral patterns of a group. It can be used as a means for problem solving, teamwork, and to become more innovative and productive as an organization. So group dynamics refer to the relationships between learners in a group and the impact that this has on the way they work. So in schools also we divide the students into group, and in each group we will make a leader, and whoever has similar interest, only those students will put in one group, so that the cohesiveness will be there and group dynamics will be there. Dynamics mean change. So the group dynamics means the change of behavior through interaction in the group. As we know that students live in groups in school as their classroom, group of playmates, hobby club, science club, library, etc. So it's natural that students interact with each other in groups to perform their needs. Now these days many of the project work they do in groups. So they get informations, provide messages, etc. So as we know that human behavior is not static, so it's dynamic. Dynamic means it's always on the move. So when students interact in their group with other members, then the behavior of members who constantly interact, it undergoes continuous changes. So they look at other person also, other peers, and they learn a lot. The kind of changing in behavior of students due to their interaction in group with group members, this is called group dynamics. So this involves group member resources, structure. So what is structure? The size of the group, the roles and the norms and procedures, and the group cohesiveness. That is how much relation they have, the teamwork they have, and group processes, the communication, the decision making process, power dynamics, conflicting interactions, etc. So on the group tasks, the complexity and interdependence. So if at all a group should work successfully, then all the members should have the same goal. There should be no conflicts. So the likes and dislikes should be almost the same for the other members of the group. Then only there will be successful dynamics. So usually these are the steps of forming a group and storming a group and norming a group, then performing, then adjourning. So a group should be cohesive. That is, they should have a common goal and a common like and common interest. Then the dynamics. So they will have it depends on the members of the group. Okay, so if a group is having a best cohesiveness and good dynamics with all the members looking at the interest of the other persons, then definitely the group will perform well.